Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the latest episode of the DSL podcast. I think it's fair to say it's been a while.
It has.
Since the last one. A lot has changed since then, which no doubt we'll cover in this episode and future episodes. I'm joined today by the Managing Director, looking very smart today.
Thank you, I'll try.
Rory Dear, here he is, and we're going to be covering a number of topics today. For our discussion, for people to talk about, to think about. And Rory, might as well go straight in, and I'm sure everyone's aware of this, the component crisis which has been going on for what seems like forever now.
Yep.
And for people out there who maybe have been living under a rock, no offence, do you want to try to summarise exactly what has been going on?
Sure. I mean, well, the situation is we can't build product, or at least can't build product easily, cheaply, or within a reasonable lead time. What started it is a little contentious. There's talks of factory fires, there's talks of COVID-19, there's talks of components not being built quickly enough, and there's the Far East manufacturing a lot of electric cars, and that's kind of linked to COVID-19 because they tended to use public transport, and now they're saying they want to drive privately. So it's all these kind of things have formed a perfect storm, I suppose. And the reality now is that you go to build your product, you've got 100 components on there, you can get 50 of them from stock, you can get 40 of them on a 80-week lead time, and you can get 10 of them from a broker for 500 times the price you were paying before. So it's kind of a situation now where your lead time used to be 12 weeks, now it's possibly 52 weeks, or you can pay twice the price to buy parts from these profiteering brokers, which are the bane of my life at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. So, this has really started since COVID, and is it a case of companies that can just hoarding what's available?
Yeah. You've got two problems. You've got the big boys, the Audis, the Volkswagens, the BAE Systems, all these kind of guys that have bottomless pockets almost to say, well, we need this component and we're prepared to hold 1 billion of them in stock, so buy everything on the market. Yeah. You've then got broker operations where they go, we can see this part's becoming quite popular. If this sells out, it's a £1 part, I'll probably get away selling this for £2 or £4, and it just goes up and up and up. And I mean, we had a component the other day. I think there was one that was a £4 component, and only £500 for it.
Yeah,
it's crazy pricing. But
it's
if you're
on demand,
the problem companies have. Luckily, most of our customers don't have this, but a lot of the military companies, for example, have contracts where they have to deliver.
Yeah.
They have to deliver a certain amount of spares. You can't have troops on the front line that haven't got a radio. Their radio's broke. They can't have another radio because you can't buy its part. So you have to, and you get fined heavily if you don't deliver that spare part. So if that part's now £500, it was £4, doesn't matter. You've got to pay it.
You've got to pay it. And it's been going on now for what, a couple of years, would you say? Well, COVID's a couple of years, isn't it? And the interesting thing that I spoke to a guy who was going through a similar thing, and people are saying, oh, why don't they just build more factories now that we're getting over COVID? But he was saying that it's not as simple as that. Like, for them to get up to speed takes a number of years.
That's
opposed
what
to, I mean, we've heard about China knocking up these hospitals in 2 weeks. But this is a very different scenario.
The problem is this is cutting edge technology, and it's really, really, really expensive. I mean, it costs millions of pounds to set up a new semiconductor fab.
Yeah.
And as you say, it takes 2 to 3 years. You need people to work there, you need a site, they're massive. Yeah. It's not something that can be addressed immediately. And the problem is, I was thinking about the fuel crisis last night, and the parallels of this, what's the same and what's different. The thing with the fuel crisis is, by these people that were sticking like jerry cans and carrier bags full of fuel in their sheds, you've got a limited capacity to hoard fuel. Your car can only fit so much fuel in it, unless you had these people that would drive a mile and then top it up again. But by and large, you can't hold more than about 50 litres per person. Yeah. Whereas the problem with the component crisis is you can literally hold as many as you like. No matter however much money you've got, if you're prepared to use that, you can keep hoarding. Yeah. So even if these factories could be set up tomorrow, would these kind of companies just come along and buy that all again, and you've not achieved anything? So it's almost like how they were chasing the tankers during the fuel crisis. There is the right amount of fuels arriving every day, but as soon as it arrives, the big queue of people take it again.
Yeah. So if you're in a situation at the minute and you've got a design and you used to be able to knock it out in 12 weeks, as you mentioned, something like that. You used to that. And now suddenly it's going up to silly lead times, 52 weeks, silly prices, so on and so forth. You mentioned about broker parts. Can you explain what you mean by that, and if there's any, are they risk averse, if there's no risk for them, what's the risk attached? That, just so people understand what could happen if they go down that route.
I mean, I suppose this explanation is going to paint brokers in a little bit of a bad light, but a comparison would be...
No offence to any brokers listening.
I suppose a comparison would be cigarettes. So you buy your cigarettes from a shop, but you could also buy them from a guy down the pub. Now, you don't know necessarily where he's got them from. You might have got them from any country in the world. They may be genuine cigarettes, they may be hooky cigarettes, they may be stolen, they may be fake. The traceability on them often doesn't exist.
Okay.
But yeah, it's effectively a company that is buying a commodity, in this case electronic components, at a lower price, on the understanding they'll be able to sell them at a higher price.
It's the same with anything, isn't it? They could be fine. Like you buy something, wish.com, I don't know if anyone purchased from there. Me personally, I've bought a couple of things from there. They've been exactly as they're meant to be. I know people that's not the case.
Yeah.
So I guess it's weighing that up.
And the problem is as well, I mean, back in 2-3 years ago, maybe there was one part you couldn't easily get a hold of. Maybe you went to a broker for that one part, and there's a risk on that one part. Now, that was one part. Quite often, manufacturers at the moment, 50% of these are broker parts. So you've got a roll of a dice on a broker part quite often, and you're rolling the dice now potentially 50 times. And if you go roll a 1 once, you're screwed. You've got a component you've already put on your PCB that doesn't work. Not only can you not easily remove it potentially, but also you can get hold of that part was the whole problem. So where are you going to get a replacement for that part? Back to another broker, back to rolling the dice again.
Yeah, and it's, as I said, with the whole, the speed in which this market is moving, you kind of almost have to make your decision quickly.
Yeah.
Because I've had examples of things, price increases going up God knows how much in the space of a day. And I think for people out there who, if they see a lead time, for example, on a component, and it says 52 weeks, and you're thinking, I'm not going to bother doing anything now.
Yeah.
I'll wait for that lead time to come down to, the 12 weeks, and then I know where I am. But the problem is unfortunately, lots of people are just going with these 52 weeks, getting in the queue.
Yeah.
So actually, what you're waiting for a 12 week, which is actually going to be 52 plus 12.
Yeah. It's not quite like waiting till it's not half term to go to a theme park, as it is.
Exactly. Yeah. So you have to bear that in mind. And is there anything that, I suppose beyond going for broker parts or being content, not that anyone would be with these year-long lead times, I suppose something that could be looked at would be a redesign. Would you say that's...
Yeah, well I suppose that this feeds into a little bit how we're doing new designs now.
Yeah.
So historically you were starting from, availability was almost a given for all the options. You had perhaps an ST micro option, you had a TI option and various different options just on a microcontroller. And you generally would lean towards the most popular because they're going to be the most available, the most familiar, the easiest tools.
Trusted.
Now you're going in the other direction actually because an STM32, probably the most popular microcontroller in the world, everyone is now after that.
Yeah.
Everyone needs that microcontroller. Yeah. So actually now you kind of look at it and going, well hold on, if I use one, I don't want to use the word obscure necessarily, but perhaps a less well-known manufacturer, they've got 100k in stock and you can't get an STM micro for 52 weeks. You know, what about these guys over here? So, there's an argument almost that it's diversifying the industry a little bit because you're getting the little guys that previously you couldn't get a look in, but because they've got stock, almost availability is now at the top of the priority list. So feeding into existing designs, what you can do is you can go, okay, I can't get X part.
Yeah.
The easiest thing, if you can get a drop-in replacement, brilliant. So you don't even have to change your layout. But what we've been doing for quite a lot of customers at the moment is changing the layout just slightly because you're not generally lucky enough to find a drop-in replacement from another manufacturer that's in plentiful stock. So we just change a little part of the circuit to perhaps support a new audio chip or Ethernet chip or whatever it may be, and then people can start building their product again. I mean, the real risk there, of course, you change that chip,
and then
suddenly this chip becomes unavailable. But
it
seems to be the case that if there's 100k of a chip available now in the biggest depths of this crisis, you're probably going to be okay. They're probably not going to vanish tomorrow.
But I think it's people weighing up, okay, there'd probably be cost involved in a redesign, but then the benefit of actually getting these products to people in a time scale that you can give them a time scale, as opposed to with an existing design which is I said 52 weeks, check again 2 years.
And the severity varies. I mean, you've got some customers who are like, well, we've got loads of stock. I mean, it just might be some of our customers have to wait a few weeks more, no drama. You've got other customers that are almost saying, well, look, I'm going to go out of business here.
Yeah.
If I can't get this product built in less than 52 weeks, I don't have a business.
Yeah.
And that's a real problem. And then again, like the military guys, they get forced down this route where they have to pay these crazy prices for components because there's no other option.
So where does it end, Rory? When does it end? Have you got a crystal ball? Have you got an idea? If you were to, bear in mind this is going on record, if you were to say...
Well, I suppose the question...
What would you be happy to say when you think, okay, I reckon...
I mean, the first question to ask is, why did the fuel crisis end? So what happened there?
Well, everyone has enough petrol to bath in, probably.
Everyone had so much petrol that, all of the people that were hoarding it the most could not hoard it any longer. And then people saw that actually it was available, and as soon as you start getting a little bit of availability, suddenly everyone eases, everyone feels a lot more relaxed about it, and then a few days later it's back to normal. So you could argue that maybe that's what needs to happen here. I mean, we've been doing it as well, so we've got a particular modem and an ST micro we use a lot of, and as soon as we've seen any on DigiKey, for example, we've snapped them up. So we're complaining, yet we're also
part of the problem.
Sorry, everyone. When will we stop doing this? Well, when we know that, when DigiKey have got 5,000, 10,000, when we're not talking to someone like uBlocks and they're telling you it's going to be 2023.
I mean, everyone has been affected. We can talk about our industry, but from a personal point of view, look at people wanting Xboxes, for example.
Yeah, and company cars. I mean, how long was your car delayed for?
Well, it was delayed, but there's other people in the company that have had longer delays, but we won't go into that now, in case they can hear. But I mean, speaking from the guy who works in the car industry, he said it's similar to us for components, except he's doing it for cars, and you've got all these garages looking for these things to come available, and they have to move quickly to secure it. I mean,
but also, did you see the BBC News article about Jaguar Land Rover? They'd lost like £9 million in the last few months for this week. So I mean, I'm sort of sitting here almost going, well, it's all right for the big boys, but actually it doesn't seem to be right for the big boys either.
Yeah, it's an ongoing thing, but as I going back to the Xbox, I mean, I can remember going back a few years.
Can you still not get an Xbox or a PlayStation?
It's difficult. I mean, you've got the one without a disc drive. Is it the Series S? Right. Which is pretty well available, but the boxes, the Series X, like the big boys, it's again, I think you need like stock alerts, and then every similar thing, isn't it? Everyone jumps on and tries to get an Xbox.
And you have these people on eBay that have bought 10 PlayStation 5 and then they're selling them for £900. It's the exact same thing.
They're ripping the award, and I don't think. I mean, I can remember this happening, going way back when the first PlayStation came out. I think either the first or second Christmas of the first PlayStation, it was real. I mean, before really online was a thing, I think, but it was like going out to all these shops trying to find it. But I can't remember a new console being your PlayStation man, but PlayStation 5, I was guessing it's a similar thing.
But I think with those, I mean, I remember the queues for like the Tamagotchis. I don't know if you remember that. But it was just fact they couldn't manufacture them quickly enough. It was a fad, and they just couldn't build them quickly enough. It wasn't about a lack of components. It was just about a lack of ability to produce them quickly enough. Whereas, all these issues now, they haven't got the parts. It's not the production lines are jammed. It's the production lines are dormant because they can't put anything on them.
So they can't put them on. Yeah. Well, we've got to see how it plays out. I think over the course of these episodes, we can provide some updates from our point of view. But I'm sure people again will be seeing the same things